Hey, welcome back for episode 2 of our stair rebuild, and we're in full production here. It's not pretty. A little bit embarrassed about the mess, but this is all part of it. Whenever you're working with those old stuff. So you can see over here we got a lot of stuff in glue up. We're gluing pieces back together, and a few more pieces in there. And so the idea is we do the glue up on some of the pieces that broke free, and after that we're going to put it in a surface planer or run it on a joiner. Depends on the width. We have a 6-inch joiner and a 13-inch planer, so we'll run that stuff through there, get all the paint off of it, and then start working on getting it back together. So the process is that we, like for instance, here's one of the risers. This is upside down. This would set like this, and the back of the stair would go into the slot here, and that would help lock it in. You see sometimes these chunks break off, which it's all part of taking this stuff apart. And with some of them you actually get long pieces. The whole groove here, the whole chunk broke free on one of the treads, or one of the risers, so that'll have to be glued back on. And with the glues nowadays, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you coat both surfaces, clamp it real good like that, and it'll be stronger than the wood was originally. Now these are made out of pine, and some of them are a little bit chewed up at the top, like this one here. It's a little chewed up at the top from taking it apart, but that's fixed easily enough. After we plane it down and everything, we'll check and see how that looks. And if it's too bungled up, then what we can do is actually take it on a table saw, cut about 1 inch off of this, or maybe half an inch, and then just glue a piece of pine on that, because this is going to be painted. So it doesn't matter if they're dissimilar woods or if you can see the seam. It really doesn't matter. So we'll repair it that way so it'll look nice. And you see we got some nail holes there and all that stuff. But what we do is, let me see if I can find the piece that fits on that. I think it's this piece here. So what we do is we set this up like so, and we glue it, clamp it, leave it overnight, and that's it. That's how we fix it. So each one of these, slide that down where it's supposed to be. There we go. And each one of these is going to have to be fixed like that. So it's about 3 to 4 days of gluing, waiting for it to dry, and then taking the clamps off. And we could do it all in one day, but I just don't have enough clamps. There's my clamp rack over there. We got some long ones over there, but really all this stuff really needs is some of the short ones there. It's no problem. So then we have 2 landings. If you remember in the previous video, we go up and there's a landing there, and then you step up onto another landing, and then up the stairs on the other side. And this is kind of some of the stuff that we're dealing with. And this is part of that first landing. And you can see there's a lot of build up here on the tongue part of the board. So then on the back side there's a lot of build up in the groove. And whenever you combine that, what happens is, and you can see like that, there's the tongue part, there's the groove. What happens is whenever that goes together, it was setting like this, and so we don't want that. We want to have this looking like a good professional staircase. So what I did is I ran these 2 pieces through a joiner, and got all the tongues cleaned up and all the grooves cleaned out. You can see it's looking a lot better there. And this is how it should actually fit, like this. And it turns out this is southern yellow pine. I think that's what this is. And it's got some wormholes in it, which I think actually makes it more cool, and could actually increase the value of the house. People like that sort of thing. It's all good. And there's a crack here, and we may just pry this apart a little bit, just squirt a little bit of glue down in there, and then clamp that Try and get that pulled back together. But all this stuff is savable. You can rescue all this. And these edges here where the groove is, we can run these through the table saw and take this off, or I can run them through the joiner and get rid of all this and have a nice clean sharp edge. Then just run a sanding block over that edge real quick, and that just takes that real sharp corner off, which makes it a lot nicer for the finish. So did this, and let me see if I can get this apart here. Try and pry it apart, which it's a pretty good joint now. And that's just the friction holding that together, and you can see how well it holds together now. And we tore up the tongues. I mean, it was nailed through the tongue, nailed down. I'm trying to do this with one hand. It's a little bit tough, so pry this apart a little bit and show you the difference between them. Well, I tell you what, that's a good fit now. So I can't even do it with one hand. There it goes. All right. So you can see what that tongue looks like. It's all cleaned up. And you see what the groove looks like. So yeah, came out good. So how we get it to that point? Of course, we run this through a joiner. You can run that through a surface planer, and you put the flat side up against the fence on the joiner, and with this side down, and run it through. About 3 passes, took everything off, and did find a small little finish nail in there, which ruined my joiner knives, but that's okay because I knew that was going to happen. It always happens with these old projects. I have an old set of joiner blades. We throw the junk ones in there and run everything through. If there's ever a problem, then we can find it. And then we can sand it and make it look real nice, or we can change back to the good blades and then do one final pass. But probably what we'll do with this was we'll just sand it. So we'll get the nails out of the wood by any means necessary. And whenever I say any means necessary, that means any means necessary. So we'll pound away and try and chip away some of the wood to get a room to get my side cutters in there, and grab hold of that. And boy, this gives you a lot of leverage to pull the nails out. And to clean the grooves out and to clean the tongues off, we use a combination of wire brush, just wire brush that, and a screwdriver down in the groove, scraping that out, and also a paint scraper. And that works really good. Get in there like that and pull, clean that all up. And then once we get the majority of it off with this, then we hit it with a wire brush just to finish it up. And just look at the dirt. This is not like any kind of like rope insulation or sealing or anything. That is accumulated dirt from about 60 years. And that was all one piece pulled out of the groove. And you wonder why it's hard to get these pieces, well, it's impossible to get these pieces to set together. It's because all this buildup here, that's about 60 years worth of dust and fuzz and who knows what all is in there. So you gotta clean all that up, and you can see, boy, we got a heck of a mess here. We have the pocket screws set up to fix some of the parts. We got the treads are over here. You can see we got a big chunk out of that, so we're going to take care of that. And for some reason, of course, these treads here were the upper side of the staircase, and you can see where the balusters went. So we're going to have to repair some of those, and to get the balusters back in. But whenever this staircase was rebuilt, they used the upper treads on the lower side. There was actually cutouts for balusters on the lower side, and somebody had cut pieces of wood and put in there to act as like a filler. And yeah, it was a fail. You could see it. So our repairs, you're going to be able to see it also, but we're going to square this up, cut some really nice pieces of wood to fit in there, glue them in, and then whenever we run it through the surface planer, it'll come out really good. And in fact, on this one here, on this tread here, we have, see, this chunk here was broken off. This chunk was broken off, and we'll put some wood filler in here, and they'll have to dig the paint out of this and put some wood filler in here. But once this is all machined and sanded, we'll show you this in a later video. You're going to be able to see that repair, and that's actually okay, because what that does is, even though we're gonna straighten up so it doesn't have this check in it or crack or anything, you know, this, it's all glued in there nice and good. But even though you'll be able to see the repair, it'll be nice and smooth, and it'll be finished off really nice. And there was a chunk of wood in here that was just nailed in, so pull that out, and I'm going to make a piece of wood that'll fit in there. We'll press that in, glue it in, and then whenever we run it through the surface planer, it'll be flush with the surface. And like I said, you'll be able to see the repairs, but that's okay, because this is an antique staircase, and that kind of shows the history of that set of stairs, of that piece of furniture. So a lot of times whenever we're doing this stuff, we don't try and hide the repair. We just go ahead and repair it, and let that be kind of a little peek into the history of that particular piece of furniture, or in this case, this set of stairs. So you see all these pieces laying here. These are all pieces that have to be glued back on, and we try and be as gentle as we can pulling it apart. We don't rip and tear, but you know, this stuff, it had to come apart. So you can see where those old cut nails were pounded through. So, you know, of course they tore there where the nails were, where the nails were. So we're going to fix that, and looks like they had some wedges built in there, so they would set the riser in and then pound a wedge down behind them to hold it plumb. And then there's also another set underneath the tread, holding the tread up into place. So we may just put a little dab of glue in them to hold them in, but we're probably going to end up putting the staircase together with pocket screws like I mentioned in the first video. We'll have to see how that's going to work out, because we're not going to have total access underneath the stairs. We will for a few stairs until we start closing it in, and then we're going to, you know, we'll probably have to just face nail it. So just take a look at that. Whenever that's coated with urethane, that is going to look amazing. Whoever gets this house is going to be one happy person, I think, because once this is done, it's going to look boss. You really can't get this kind of look with new materials. You know, it'll look real nice, and it should, because it's new. But with these you know, stuff like this, where you get the wormholes and everything. And that patina that comes with this older wood, and it's just really cool, so cool. So it'll look like an antique staircase. It'll look really cool. So want to hit the like and subscribe down below. Make sure you hit the bell, and that'll remind you whenever I upload another video, so you can check out part 3 of the series. Thanks for watching. See you next time.